dear students, a warm welcome to a new video on evolution and fundamentals of business. We are going to talk about section 3 part 4, which basically talks about commerce. Now let us look into the exact definition of commerce. So it is concerned with buying, selling and distribution of commodities, and it is an organized system for exchange of goods and services in between the businessman and the customers. It is also concerned with the marketing aspects of business, that is supply of right type of goods to the right persons at the right time and at the right price. Commerce includes trade and aids to trade. Moving on, let us look into the trade and aids to trade. So let's look at the definition. Commerce is the sum total of all those activities which are engaged or involved in the removal of hindrances in the process of exchange of goods and services. Now we are going to talk about functions of commerce. So the first function of commerce talks about removal of hindrance of person. Now what does it mean? It refers to the lack of contact between the producers and customers. Here the trader acts as an intermediary among them, and customers are able to find out the products which they are wanted from the market. Let's talk about the second hindrance. This is removal of hindrance of place. Producers and customers are in distant places, hence the commodities should be transferred from the production center to the customers. This problem can be solved by the system of commerce by means of transport, packaging and insurance. Moving on to the third point, which is removal of hindrance of risk. Goods and properties of business are subject to various risks such as fire, theft, damage, etc. They can be protected by insurance. Moving on to the fourth point, which is removal of hindrance of time. So there may be a gap between the production and consumption, as the production is carried out in anticipation of future demands. Therefore, it becomes necessary to store the goods until they are sold, and this problem can be solved by warehousing. Moving on to the fifth point, which talks about the removal of hindrance of knowledge. Knowledge of customers about the products and services offered by business organizations is a major problem in business. Advertising helps in the removal of hindrance of knowledge among the buyers. Moving on to the sixth point, which is removal of hindrance of finance. Now, the problem of finance can be handled by banks, which form part of commerce. It will also help the businessman in exchange of money between different persons at different places. So a quick summary of functions of commerce. It is engaged in removal of hindrance of person, place, risk, time, knowledge and finance. Now let us talk about the Make in India initiative by the central government. So the Make in India initiative was launched by the Government of India on 25th September 2014 to encourage national and multinational companies to manufacture their products in India. Its major objectives are job creation and skill enhancement in 25 sectors of the economy. Now some of these are automobile, aviation, biotechnology, chemicals, construction, defense, electrical machinery, food processing, IT, oil and gas, media and entertainment, mining, railways, etc. Now let's talk about trade. Trade refers to sale, transfer or exchange of goods. Buying and selling of goods which involves the exchange of commodities for money or money's worth. Now trade can be classified into home trade and foreign trade. Now let us discuss what is home trade. Now this is also known as domestic trade or internal trade, the buying and selling of goods within the country, and both the buyers and sellers should belong to the same nation. Now home trade is classified into wholesale trade and retail trade. Now let's discuss about wholesale trade. Now this is buying and selling goods in large quantities. A wholesaler buys goods directly from the producers and sells them to the retailers. Now let's talk about retail trade. Buying and selling of goods in small quantities. A retail trader buys goods from the wholesalers and sells them to the customers. Now let us talk about foreign trade. And foreign trade is classified into three: exports, imports and interport trade. Now let us talk about foreign trade. This is also known as external trade or international trade. It involves the buying and selling of goods and services in between the persons belonging to two or more countries. Now let us talk about the word export. Now export here means sale of goods to foreign countries. Now let us talk about the word import. So children, import here refers to purchase of goods from foreign countries. Now let us look at the third important term. This is called as interport trade. Now this is importing goods from one country for the purpose of exporting them to some other country. Say for example, India imports goods from England and sells it in Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, China. Now looking at types of trade, trade is again classified into home trade and foreign trade. Home trade is classified into wholesale and retail, and foreign trade is classified into export, import and interport trade. A quick summary. Now let's move on to the next area, and this is called as aid to trade or auxiliaries to trade. Aids to trade. The activities which assist or help trade are called as aid to trade or auxiliaries to trade. Now aids to trade includes transport, insurance, warehousing, advertising, banking, etc. These service enterprises facilitate movements, finance, risk coverage, storage and sales promotion of goods. Let's look at the first aid to trade, which is called as transport and communication. Usually production takes place in certain location and consumption all over the country. This problem is removed by transport through various modes such as road, rail or water transport. Moving on, along with transport, communication is very essential. It helps the producers, traders and consumers in exchange of information. Example, postal services, telephone and other modern means of communication may be regarded as auxiliaries to business activities. Moving on to the second point, that is banking and finance. All business concerns need fund for acquiring assets, raw materials and meeting day-to-day expenses. Finance is the foundation of all business provided by banks. Now let us see how banks help the business. Banks accept deposits from the public and provide credit facilities for business. They lend money in the form of overdraft, cash credit or loans. They also involved in discounting of bills, collection of checks, remittance facilities and various other services to the business community. Now let us look at insurance. So insurance provides protection against the risk of loss due to accident, fire, earthquake, theft, damage of goods in stock and transit. On payment of a nominal amount called as premium, the amount of loss or damage is compensated by the insurance company. Let's move on to the next point, that is warehousing. So here, production is always in anticipation of future demand, so that the products are to be kept in good condition until they are sold. So, warehouses facilitate storage of goods and stabilizes prices by equalizing supplies. Moving on to advertising, it helps to reach millions of customers for promoting sales and giving information about the product. Thus, advertising makes possible marketing of goods and services on a large scale. A quick recap of aids to trade. It includes transport and communication, banking and finance, insurance, warehousing, advertising. Thank you dear students. I'll catch you on another video which will discuss about the objectives of business.